Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Speakeasy Project. I'm Jeremy. It is good to see you this morning. Hope that everybody is doing well today. Hope that everybody is having a good Sunday thus far. Yes. Bluetooth headphones for the win always. Jay, for sure. Anyway, drop a comment if you're in. Would love to hear from you today. And just kind of get an opportunity to get connected for sure. Glad to be hanging out with you for sure. So, it has been a busy week, I'm sure, for you as well as myself. And there's always a lot going on, I think, in just life, right? But you know what? This week I'm off work. So I'm excited about that. So excited to get to spend a little bit of time with everybody today. And I won't keep you long. we're gonna go do some fun family stuff this week while I'm off, which is good. And so excited to kind of unwind a little bit and be away from all the chaos and the craziness. So um, it's gonna be good to do that. I do have I've got surgery this week too, so that's part of it. A little bit crazy, but nothing too serious. So just this little like spot on my lip is weird, and so for those are keeping score at home, I'll be taking that off. So that's fun, I guess. Quiet for a change. Oh man, we can say some crazy stuff today, Rick. If you're gonna be quiet, that means I can finally get in all those jabs I've been saving for you. And you're just gonna have to sit there and take it. I like that idea. But we're getting ready. We're gonna go spend a couple of days at the lake together, and then I'll have surgery this week, and so kind of a couple of birds, one stone, kind of deal. um, yeah, very casual, but yeah, just it's always something. Like there's just always something happening. Um, but I don't know. We'll see. Um, it's not serious. I don't have to like go under or anything crazy, so it's fine. All right. We're gonna be like I said, I'm gonna be a little bit more abridged today, just because I am gonna go start getting ready and start hanging out with the kids and do some things like that. So we're gonna be in Proverbs 19, looking at 11 and 12. I really, those those posts seem fun, but for me, I don't like they gave me an option, right? Like I could just do like a local anesthetic and just get this taken care of. I opted with that because I don't like all the nonsense that happens with anesthesia. Like just kind of that like brain fog and all the things that kind of happen with it. So I was not wanting to participate in that. Um, so I'm kind of excited that I get to not have to deal with that this time around, which is good. Um, but should be pretty quick and fairly painless, I think. So um, doesn't seem to be that big of a deal, which is good. All right. We're going to be in Proverbs 19, looking at 11 and 12 today. And like I mentioned, um, we'll be a little bit more abbreviated today, just because I'm going to hop off here and kind of start my week. So again, Proverbs 19, 11, and 12 is where we're going to be. Um, again, kind of coming from the Message. So this translation or the kind of the view of Eugene Peterson, just a little bit more modernized, as we've kind of discussed a couple of times. But it says this: it says, "Smart people know how to hold their tongue. Their grandeur is to forgive and forget. Mean-tempered leaders are like mad dogs. The good-natured are like fresh morning dew." Um, I think there's a lot of things that we can take from the Proverbs. There's 31 chapters in Proverbs. I encourage people a lot of times, if you were kind of struggling in life, we're struggling through a certain season, just kind of um, taking a little bit of time each day and reading a chapter out of Proverbs is encouraging. It's challenging. It's uplifting. It's good things to get into, and it kind of lends itself to just kind of for most months, I guess it operates as something you could read a chapter a day, and just kind of enjoy the wisdom, appreciate the challenge, appreciate the encouragement of the Book of Proverbs, and the writings of Solomon, who was described in Scripture as very wise. I think is something good that we could really get into, and it's just very uplifting, right? But I was really called to this kind of passage this past week, or just really kind of was thinking a lot about it, um, because I think that I think that there is some really good wisdom in learning how to operate with good nature, to operate with a slow tongue, and to operate with forgiveness. Those are pieces that really matter. Those are things that are characteristics that we could use every single day. Um, and they are things that require some practice. Um, I think sometimes naturally we can be good at one of those things or a couple of those things. However, doing all of them is a little bit of a challenge at all times, right? So talking about those three things, right? And I like that. I like the addition in the middle of this passage of, like, mean tempered leaders are like mad dogs, right? Like, I think that can kind of resonate with all of us, especially in today's culture, especially in our country right now. Um, you know, people who people who have these places of authority that just act angry and bitter and ragey all the time are like mad dogs. They're dangerous, right? Don't pet. um, and they kind of get fuel for their fire, from having their ego stroked and from having their actions validated. But obviously, we shouldn't encourage that, and obviously, we need to call that out. But more importantly, we need to be the opposite of that. Um, Even in places of leadership in our own lives, or even in places of influence in our own lives, we need to be even tempered. And that's really what this is ultimately about. It's giving us several ways to engage and encounter people evenly, to remember how to be kind, to remember how to be compassionate, to remember how to be good. Um, there's pieces of this entire chapter that really kind of lend itself to that. I look down into this passage and it says, let verse 19 goes on to say, let angry people endure the backlash of their own anger. It goes on to say, take good counsel and accept correction, right? Um, that's the way of wisdom. Um, and so all of this kind of lends itself to how to be a good human and how to operate as someone who really lives in love and grace and compassion towards the people around you, and how to not just kind of fit into the system, if that makes sense. But wisdom comes from being slow to anger, slow to respond. you know Jesus talks about this several times. Jesus talks about what it means to be driven by kindness and to be driven by mercy and to be merciful and compassionate a lot. Yeah. And I think that when we see forgive and forget as a phrase, I don't think that that necessarily means forget the wrong that was done to you. I think a lot of times what it means is to forgive the situation and to forget the anger, to forget the rage, right? It's not forget the deed, it's not forget the action. Because I think to have good boundaries and to remember how to navigate well in our relationships with people, we have to remember, when somebody wrongs us, when somebody does something that is harmful to us, we can't just pretend like those things never happened, and we can't just pretend like those things didn't have some kind of effect on us. But we can get rid of the malice and the resentment. We can forget those parts. So I think that there's a little bit of a misunderstanding at times when we see the phrase like we do here, to forgive and forget. Because being able to set good boundaries and protect yourself doesn't mean that you forget when people hurt you. It just means that sometimes we need to forget and get rid of that anger and rage and resentment and frustration that dwells inside of those feelings. Um, so there's some wisdom in that. Yeah. Well, I think this is spot on too, right? It's the proverbial cat in the corner, right? Um, don't be shocked when you back a cat into a corner and it begins to claw and scratch and bite to try to get out, right? Um, I think that we saw that very clearly with Jesus and his life, right? Like as he got the religious elite and the government leaders and those in authority in his day and time backed further and further into a corner in their way of life, they became more and more um, angry and frustrated and you know lashed out more often, and eventually it led to Jesus's arrest and execution because they just finally got to a point where they couldn't do it anymore, right? Um, and that's an extreme example, obviously, but it is not lost on me that I think it was very clear. Like at first, I think they probably thought Jesus was like kind of cute, right? Like they were like, "Oh, that's precious. This carpenter guy is like saying things about us, right?" And then he began to garner more respect and more followers and more appreciation, and he had more say. And then all of a sudden, he began to garner higher and more influence than they had in certain circles. And then they began to see their power slip. So when the power began to slip, they then started doing things to try to catch him in traps or to get him, um, kind of incriminated at times. We see that with the woman caught in adultery. We see different moments like that. But, but Jesus continued to push back. Jesus continued to call out their nonsense. Jesus continued to do those things. And eventually it caused them to have to take extreme measures. Sometimes when I see extreme measures being done by leaders or people in these places of authority that are unstable, I know that is, while those extreme measures can be dangerous and worrisome and problematic, certainly by every stretch of the imagination, and those are probably understatements, right? Dangerous and problematic, not strong enough language. But what I rest in is knowing that is their fear and their feeling that their power is fading. And that's good. So we fight against it, right? We push and we continue to push. And we can't be shocked when those people get backed into a corner, when those mean tempered, angry people begin to act like mad dogs and rabid and bite and claw and scratch and do all of those things. But part of that means that they are backed into a corner and they don't feel like they have the influence they should have. I think it's the silver lining in a really dark cloud. But the wisdom around these things, the antithesis of poor leadership, a mean temper, angry, bitter, is wisdom to be slow to speak. It is the ability to forgive. Wow, that is gotta dig into that really deep. See what kind of other things come to the surface with that. There's something wrong with our country. No. Just a hypothetical, Rick. Of course, a hypothetical. Yeah, we don't forget. I don't know why people say that. Yes, we forgive, but we can't forget, especially when the offense was criminal. Yeah, or harmful, right? Not just criminal, but harmful. Um, but I think what's being said here in Proverbs 19, the grandeur is to forgive and to forget. It is forgetting the anger. It is forgetting the bitterness. It is forgetting the things that are harmful to us, right? It is getting rid of those things. It's kind of washing those, right, a little bit. And so I don't think it's forgetting the action or the deed. I think it's forgetting um, I think it's forgetting the interaction, if that makes sense. Um, but these things are the opposite. They're what calls us to be better humans to one another. So while mean-tempered leaders here in verse 12, right? Mean-tempered leaders are like mad dogs. The good-natured are like fresh morning dew. In other words, life-giving, restoring, cool, collected. But I think because things are so volatile, a lot of times we want to fire off with our tongue or we want to say really harmful things in return. We want to remember and we want to continue to be angry. We want to be bitter. We want to be ragey. We want to be we want to be frustrated. But there's a problem with allowing that to continue. There's a problem with continuing to be negative. We have to work really hard to find the good. We have to work really hard to find the positive. We have to work really hard to be uplifting to ourselves and to others. And the pieces of that are going to be good forgiveness. They're going to be a wise tongue. It is going to be slow to speak. It is going to be reflective. It is going to be patient. It is going to be proactive listening. It is going to be finding the silver lining in some of the darkest clouds, as we mentioned earlier. And that is something that takes a lot of work to train our brain. Listen, we are infiltrated constantly with negativity, with rage, with anger, with frustration. Like literally everything we come across online and in the news and the things that we read and the conversations that we have are constantly driven by anger and fueled by rage and fueled by hate and fueled by frustration and fueled by all of these negative emotions, right? But to be good natured means we find positivity. To me, to be good natured means that we find hope. To be good natured means that we find peace. Those are the things that are restoring. Those are the things that are life giving. Those are the things that are game changing. And to do that, sometimes we have to sit quietly. We have to listen. We have to reflect. We have to pause. There's something really blessed about a good pause. And now, make no mistake, I only I only talk about the things I need to hear the most. So often I struggle to pause. I want to address it now. I want to fix it now. I want to talk about it now. I want to say what I'm thinking now. But so often those things are driven by emotion, which there's nothing wrong with emotion, but it's how we use it. And is our initial reaction truly the right thing? Are things so overbearing at the beginning that the emotion is so high in the beginning when we're going through something that are we really going to say wise things? Are we really going to offer good solutions? Are we really going to offer positive response? Are we going to be able to make changes in those responses? Definitely hard for one to forget what a parent has done to their child. Forgive my father for all the pain that he's caused, but I'll never forget it. So I struggle to trust men, and that's fair. That's fair. Um, and I think that there's a lot to be said for, even the deeper understanding of trauma too, right? Um, because we're all informed by our trauma and by our background. Everybody comes into the room with baggage. But while we remember that, I think it's easy for us to go, yeah, we showed up with baggage, right? Like, y'all need to understand I showed up with baggage. But the blessed pause in that is to remember that other people are responding with their baggage too. So, what is it that informed the way you're talking? What is it that informed the way you're responding? What are the things that caused you to act the way you act? That doesn't make your actions right, and it doesn't make them okay, and it doesn't make them something I have to be acceptant of. It just means that I have to understand this is coming from somewhere. Now, know better, do better. That's very true. So once you learn that your negativity, your hate, your bigotry, your ridicule, your whatever is poor, at some point you have to do better. But I think my first question when I see people respond or interact or talk or, when they're doing things that are harmful, I wonder what is making you do that? Is that just who you are? Or are there things in your world that have driven you to be this way? And I think if we're patient long enough and we're good natured long enough, we'll begin to discover that in people. I think about my relationships with some people that are very negative or very cynical, right? You hear the way they respond or the way they interact or the way they ask questions. It all seems very combative, right? but maybe it's because they feel threatened. Maybe it's because they feel scared. You know, something like Allie was mentioning earlier, right? And when I pause long enough to go, maybe I want to dig into that a little bit. Maybe I want to figure out what it is that's causing this. At that point, I begin to learn a lot more. I start to ask good questions. I start to listen well. I start to draw lines together instead of just each individual situation is its own conclusion. That's another big one. And this is something important this morning that I want to say is we need to see people as a whole. It's really easy to look at people by circumstance, by individual moment. It's easy to define them that way, and it's easy to take them that way. But we need to be patient enough to understand people as an entire person. To understand that their actions and their deeds and their words have been informed by something. And so to take that and to put it in the entire context, here's the two things that it does. Number one, it gives us a little bit more patience to understand where they're coming from. And number two, it gives us a little bit more grace to know that maybe the things that they're saying aren't exactly the things that they mean. Now, do they think they mean it? Sure. Do they say it like they mean it? Sure. Does it make it any less harmful or hurtful or wrong or detrimental? No, it doesn't make it any less of those things. So again, everything is so much more nuanced. It's not so black and white. It's not so cut and dry. It's not so clear. We have to look at the entire picture. We have to zoom out, right? I think I think about this is it's awful, but it's true, right? I think about the puzzle behind me. Okay, if you were to zoom in on that puzzle, what you would find is that every single piece is a scene from this movie. Okay, every single little piece has a scene inside of it. It's kind of color corrected, right, to make the entire thing. But once you zoom out, you see the bigger picture. And so if it's kind of the forest for the trees, right? Like we can get a little bit lost in, wow, this is like a crazy looking tree or a crazy whatever. But once we zoom out, we see the beauty of what everything is together. The same is true of humans. If we take them one puzzle piece at a time or one tree at a time, we really don't get a full understanding of who they are entirely. And that's why patience and forgiveness and positivity is important. The more people that can calibrate their brain to begin to look at the bigger picture and to understand people as a whole, the more grace and more compassion we will have for one another. One of the few things I still hang on to from my time in the church is my forever optimism. I don't know if things happen for a reason, but I believed it for so long it still frames my perspective. Yeah, I think I hang on to that too, and I don't think that that's wrong in any sense of a worldview. I think that understanding that the pieces that happen in our life can work together, whether to teach us, to train us, to inform us, um, to challenge us. Like every instance, every moment is valuable to learn more. I think about somebody who's been through abusive situations, or they were abused as a child, or they were abused in a relationship, or all of these things are awful and terrible, and you would say, well, there's never any good that comes out of that. But then I see so many of those survivors using that to come alongside and to teach and to help and support others who are going through similar circumstances. I see people who struggle with depression. I mean, I am a prime example, coming alongside others and saying, here's the steps you can take to support yourself and to support your mind and support your process. And did you know that you can try these medications? And did you know if you went to this kind of therapy, like, you can be better? So am I proud of my depression? No. But do I think that it can be used for something better? Yes. And do I realize that other people are struggling with it too? I think the best thing that I've been able to do is connect with other people who come from a ministry background or a heavy church influenced background and go, you know what, like, therapy, secular quote unquote therapy, and modern medicine are really great for you. And you should try it because you could be better. And I had to learn that the hard way, a really hard way. But do I wish that it worked different for me? Sure. I'm not like, okay, well, I get it now. Like, I'm glad this is me. No. But did it inform me well to be better for my community? Yes. And I think that matters. Reference for Soul Surfer. This is not a Soul Surf, sir. That's Captain Jack Sparrow. I know you're just messing with that. I'm working on being more positive about my life. It's been a challenge for me. My therapist is helping me work on this and eventually drop my high walls around me. Yeah. And you know what? I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily with high walls for certain people, right? But like some people, when they earn that trust and they earn that respect, they can be let in through the gate. Now, that doesn't mean they can't be ushered right back out. But they can be let in through the gate. We should find enough peace in certain people that are life-giving that we should allow them through the gate and not force them to climb the wall. And that's hard. That takes some discernment, but it matters, because it's healing. But yeah, I think this is great, and that is great work in your therapy, right? I think that's so important. Something else that I clearly have also had to work through. So kindred spirits in that for sure. Oh gosh, I don't guess I ever saw that movie. I don't know. Is that the? I don't even know. Was that the one where, like, the surfer girl, like, got her arm ate off by a shark or something crazy? I really listen. I believe you. I'm sure it's a great analogy. I just have no context. Maybe was I not a good Christian because yeah. Okay, yeah, that I remembered right. Was I not a good Christian because I didn't see Soul Surfer? I don't know. Maybe that was too secular for us. I don't know. I don't know. Growing up, like, POD was a lot. Like, my family was like, I don't know about them. Yeah, that's what it was. I was never saved. I knew it. I knew it. A new salvation came through Soul Surfer. My, my soul was not surfed, therefore it wasn't saved. If your soul wasn't surfed, it wasn't saved. Listen, I spent a lot of time in that world. Okay, I could make a sermon out of anything, right? I did a. This is so embarrassing. I did a sermon series one time on Hunger Games. You know, you're always trying to be culturally relevant, right? Yeah. I've gotten away from that. Thank goodness. Y'all are welcome, by the way. Jesus served so you could serve. Yes. Yes. Carve up the waves of sin. It's good. Oh, love this. Yeah. Youth group series on Marvel characters. Yeah, mine was a youth group series too. About. But this was at the height of the Hunger Games, right? So, and I'm sure, I guess the height of Marvel is like been for decades at this point, like forever. But yeah, yeah. No, when the initial Hunger Games, like books and then movies, and everybody was freaking out, and because like the book that what was the book that came out or the movie that came out about Catching Fire, that one, that phrase, it's very very holy. No media availability after this. You can have all the follow up questions you want. Just know that catching fire means that we catch the fire of the Holy Spirit. Okay? That's what matters. Oh my gosh. I'm glad I've grown out of that. But I haven't grown out of the fact that I believe that being slow to speak, being slow to anger, being patient, being a good listener. Actually, I haven't grown out of it. I'm growing into it. That those things matter. That being good natured and positive and encouraging matter. Um, I had a conversation a while back with a friend, and they were like, "You're always saying nice things," and they were like, "I don't know how to take that," and something about me is like, and this is important, and I feel like I should say this just community wide. When I say nice things, I just mean them. Like that, you can take it at face value. Exactly what I said is what I meant. I just I see you as a good human, and I see you trying, and I see you doing good things, and I want to say those things out loud. So I think it matters, and I'm not going to be somebody who comes up with something random like you want to hear it, right? Like, do I care about what you want to hear? Sure, but I also care about what you need to hear. And we all need some encouragement. We all need some uplifting positivity. And that matters. But I think this morning the challenge is pretty simple. It is find a way and continue to grow into being slow to speak, slow to respond, remembering that everyone came into the room with baggage, remembering that forgiveness is good for our own soul, and that finding positivity and kindness and good things in others matters. That's what I would say. And so, today I would just hope that you could take this and it would allow you a little bit of peace and a little bit of pause. It would allow you some patience. And those were the three words that really stuck out to me this week: peace, patience, and pause. Right? Because in finding those, we find better fulfillment and a more abundant life. All right, y'all. That's what I got for you today. Once again, a little bit longer than I intended, I guess, but um, I hope that you have a fantastic week. I hope that it is a good week and that you find ways to be positive and hopeful with yourself and with others. And don't forget, I know Rick mentioned he was going to be out today, but don't forget midweek he'll be back in the saddle Tuesday and Wednesday. So 6 Central, 7 Eastern on Tuesday and Wednesday. Come be a part of one, be a part of both. Those are really good times. So anyway, but other than that, I love y'all. I appreciate your time this morning. I am always grateful for it. I'm always grateful for the opportunity to spend that time with you. Love God, love people passionately, no strings attached. Yeah, everybody have a fantastic week, and I will see you next week.